All right. Excuse me. Hello. Let's look at problem set 4b. Question 1 is going to ask us to model using ASAD the effects of different changes to the economy. So part A. For the sake of absolute completeness, let's look at the full model, which will be two graphs, the the ISTR on top. So we'll have interest rates here, and we'll have the output gap here. So this will be the IS curve, and this will be the TR curve. And we're going to say that we're at 0 for the output gap. So we're at the long run equilibrium, and then we get some I0. Okay, and then we'll also draw the ASAD, which is what the question actually asks us about. And that is going to be an output gap inflation space. We have an AD curve, and we have an IAS curve. Okay, and these line up. So this is also at 0. And it implies some level of inflation, pi 0. Okay. And now the question is asking, what happens if taxes go up? So taxes appear in the IS curve and the AD curve, because these are the same thing, right? Very close to the same thing. And the IS curve is I, and you have how to write it. I is some function of y. It's like some parameter, like called 1 over k, y, plus an intercept term, what was called big A. And then we need to remember what goes where. So in the model, this k was the Keynesian multiplier, and it contained all of the parameters that affected y, like the marginal propensity to consume and the marginal propensity to invest. Yes, and maybe the marginal propensity to import or export, something like this. And then A had everything else, all of the constants. So household wealth, the intercept terms that went with consumption and investment, also taxes, and also government spending. So inside of A, we had things like G bar. We had things like minus T. We had things like C0, things like I0. And if we look, I mean, taxes, okay, taxes, that's here, that's minus T. We have government spending, that's G bar, that's here. And then we have animal spirits, I0, that's right here. So actually every single ABC is going to be the exact same analysis. So I'm even going to just rewrite this and write that this is A, B, and C. And in each and every case, we're going to have a negative effect. If taxes go up, minus taxes will cause A to go down. If government spending decreases, A will go down. And if I0 increases, then A will go down. So in every single case, we're going to have that the IS curve shifts left to IS prime, which implies a new interest rate, I1, and a new output gap, which I will just call Y1. And likewise, the AD curve will also shift to the right, also to the same value of y, y1, and it will imply a new rate of inflation, I1, pi 1. Okay, and so we see that interest rates go down, inflation goes down, economic growth, the output gap, also goes down. So the economy is cooling off. Going into recession, right? Because if we're thinking about output gap, if we're negative, we're in recession. If we're positive, we are in a boom, an expansion. So we go into recession, interest rates go down, inflation goes down. And that's for A, B, and C. So then the question is, what are the long run dynamics? Well, we know that in the long run, we will have output gap of 0. We'll be in kind of like an equilibrium. I guess we're just, no, I mean, whatever we choose, right? The long run y bar, yeah, in the long run y will equal y bar. No matter what it is, we're going to be 0 here because we normalize. This is actually like y minus y bar over y bar, right? Minus y bar over y bar. Okay, so here, this is the long run. This is the long run, should be AD. AS. Long run AS, and this should be the long run AD. Did I do that right, or did I get it backwards? Check the book. Check the book. I did it right. Hooray me. So the long run AS and the long run AD. And what we realize is that this shift will be undone. In the long run, we are going back to the equilibrium. Okay? So in every case, if we increase government spending or we decrease government spending, the government is accumulating money. It has to spend it someday. It doesn't spend it today, it spends it later. Yeah, so I mean, eventually we'll spend that money and we'll get back to our long run. The same thing with taxes. I mean, the government cannot run a surplus forever. We can't run a deficit forever. It increases taxes, it starts accumulating a surplus, and needs to spend that money, which will show up somewhere else in the model. And it will shift us back to the long run. Same thing with household choices. Households choose to invest more. That means they need to cut spending somewhere. They can't run deficits indefinitely. Maybe in the short run, but not in the long run. So we go back to the long run dynamics. And that's this question. I will see you for the next one.